Hey everybody, Chris Resendes from the New Bedford Guide here for the Chris Resendes Show. It's been a couple weeks. I've been extremely busy working a few careers and still balancing the good things about New Bedford Guide that we do here and going to visit and help toy drives, teddy bear drives, spread the warmth. We picked up over at Bask a bunch of jackets and a few of the other locations. Citizens Banks, Wash House Salon, Active Daycare, you know, those are a bunch of places. I know I'm going to miss things. But I've been able to do that still while doing my other jobs. I'm still currently at the court, and I am also a financial planner at New York Life. We're breaking into that for the past few months. And unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to really get back into the show. So I'm really excited. The nerves are back on, just like they were every other episode. But we're here with two great guests tonight, and it's a topic that, you know, both topics are really hot right now. We're talking about charter schools and the expansion of charter schools, and we're also recreational marijuana, and the guys from Basque are back again to discuss the new, where we're at now in the world of cannabis in Massachusetts, where it's now recreational. Though they are not recreational yet, their facility, we'll get into that. We're on the way there, and it's next door, and who better to talk about it than our neighbors in Fairhaven, who actually, I hope, we were talking, might be expanding someday into the city, since they've proven they're good guys in Fairhaven. I guess New Bedford will give them a look now, huh? But before I start, this Sunday I will be over at the Top Shelf Bar and Grill in New Bedford on Attrition Avenue. The girls that were here, Brandy and Sarah, for the adoption show that I did, really they've just been going at it. They've been really working well in their Facebook group, dealing with the whole topic of adoption and being adopted or being a parent of adopted children. And now they've come together and made this awesome Facebook group, and they're spreading their wings. They're doing toy drives now. It's awesome. They're really getting going with their project over there. And I'm going to be going live from the event on Sunday, 12 to 3, Top Shelf Bar and Grill. Bunch of good people will be there, and we're going to be doing some good stuff for kids around this time of year. Toy drives are I'm always a fan of anything that helps children out. We're going to be working in conjunction with DCF, and I'll see you at the Top Shelf Grill Sunday, 12 to 3. No further ado, my guys, Tim and Chap from Bask in Fairhaven. How are you guys?
Doing all right. Thanks for having us.
Happy to be back.
It's been a few months now since we last talked, right? A couple months.
We were out here.
Yeah, and a lot's changed. I'm still a fan of the facility. I go by there. It's one of the cleanest places that I ever walk into. I was there a couple times in the past couple weeks. You were a drop-off facility. Yep. For the Spread the Warmth campaign, and you also do a ton of other goodwill stuff, and we'll get into that later on. The past couple weeks, we've been seeing on the news that there's a lot of marijuana sales in this Commonwealth. It's now recreational.
Legal marijuana sales.
Legal marijuana sales. Yeah, there's always been. Thank you, Tim.
Regulated, taxed,
regulated,
lab
taxed.
tested.
Yeah, we've seen the long lines on TV. We've seen the huge numbers, millions of dollars in sales, right?
2.2.
And that was
5 days?
That was first 5 days, yeah. They did, we're seeing about 2,000 adults or consumers that kind of transition away from patients and talk about adults, but about 2,000 per day at each location. So the two that opened up, Northampton, and then one out in Leicester. For those that see the name, not sure how to pronounce it.
Hey man, I was going to ask you, is that the way you say it?
It's Leicester. We're good friends with the guys over at Cultivate. And they've been quite busy, but yeah, they've been doing about $400,000 a day. And that first 5 days, it's $400,000 in tax revenue.
100%. Now we've been talking in the past about the financial commitment that you, both of y'all, your investors. Chap was talking about how he took some of his money from his annuities, and I was like, "Hey, man, I'm working on annuities." Like, I'm a fan of it. It helped me out with the business.
I remember those. Those were nice.
Yeah, those are nice, right?
I've drained my Roth IRA twice just to keep going. You know?
All right, come see me after you get that $400,000 a week. We'll work it out. But the financial commitment that you guys have partaken in to get to where you're at now. yes, you've had the sales of medical marijuana, and it seemed like you guys are doing pretty well there. You told me that you're growing.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good. You know, we'd like to obviously get more patients in.
Of course.
And we're almost, I have a kind of number in my head, we're almost there.
Wow.
And, you know, I feel a lot better when we get there.
You know what I think about that? You set the bar too low if you're almost there. You're going to make it unreachable, but yet not stupid.
Well, I'll change it once I get
We'll
to
move
it.
Get a little closer.
Keep going.
Yeah.
But now, that being said, the reason why I went down this little digression is that you're watching these guys in these other two towns, just money bags coming in. You're like, darn it, let's go, let's go. What's the update? When are you going to become recreational?
So we just got zoning approved, town meeting in Fairhaven on the 13th.
Okay.
So we went through the whole town meeting process. It was a education for most of the team on how town meeting works, and Fairhaven has a representative town meeting, and
Interesting structure.
It was awesome. It was like a history class too, right?
It really,
Definitely.
I think
It
I
wasn't a
took
civics class. It was a history class.
poli-sci class. At one point they talked about it, and so it was interesting to see the raising of the hands, but we were able to get our, well, not our, the planning board's zoning bylaw approved, which was a kind of binary moment for us, right? If it failed, we were kind of stuck in the application process. Now that it's passed, we're able to move forward. So next steps for us, negotiate our host community agreement with the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator in Fairhaven. We'll have a community outreach meeting. We will then file our application. It's about 90 days review with the state. We are a priority applicant because we're an existing medical facility, and we applied for that back in April. So we're looking realistically, you know, conservatively, probably about 6 months to get all the things dialed in, get our provisional, get the inspections done, and then, you know, positioned to be able to not only serve medical patients in the South Coast community, but also
Recreation.
responsible adults.
And we want to keep doing both as long as we can.
Well, a lot of people don't get it. Like, I'm going to let you all explain it because I butcher every technical thing on earth. And you're the experts, that's why you're here. But the difference and the benefits of being a medical consumer rather than a responsible adult consumer, as far as tax-wise and all this other stuff. Like if I was, I walk in as a regular adult or I walk in as a medical consumer, which one of you could break it down best to dumb it down for the audience? Because at least myself.
That'll be pretty clear. I mean, so you'll still, in order to gain access to the facility, right now as a medical patient, you show your ID to a camera, and then a staff member buzzes you in, so it'll be the same thing. If you're an adult, you'll show your ID to a camera, they'll buzz you in, and then they'll inspect the ID within our, we call man trap or sally port.
So out of jail, that's a salad port.
Yeah. So at that point, they'll verify that the ID is current, valid, just like we do with the medical patient cards, and you'll get buzzed into the waiting area. And then it's really at the point of sale where we'll have a difference where we'll essentially kind of bifurcate the point of sale stations that we have. We have 6. We'll probably, you know, easiest, we'll just say we'll split them down the middle. Medical patients will have kiosks on the left-hand side. Adult use consumers will be on the right-hand side. And there will be a difference in the products that are available to medical patients. There are less limitations on the quantity of milligrams and quantity of purchases that they're able to make. On the adult use side, they'll be limited to certain quantities of cannabis, whether it's flower or infused products, and then they'll also be subject to a tax. So,
what's the tax difference?
State for medical patients, it's 0.
Mm-hmm.
For the adult use market, it's a 17% state tax, and there's a 3% local option. That will go directly to the town that's hosting the business. So Fairhaven will participate in that tax revenue that will be generated from the adult use side.
Excellent, excellent. So the tax revenue was estimated at what this past week over at the other 2 spots?
So it was about 400,000 to the state?
Yeah, so you figure it's 20%, they did 2 million, over 2 million.
So roughly $50,000 in good use and $350, and we don't know what happens to the money.
Somebody's having a good retirement plan.
Me. So that being said, now we're moving on to this new phase, and you still see the people in Facebook world I could probably get it cheaper. I could probably get it cheaper on the streets, and I could probably do this, and I could probably do this. You know, if my aunt had a penis, she'd be my uncle too. But you know, that's not the case. So let's figure out why it's better. We know you already have it figured out, but let's give some points on why it's better to buy a product from an established facility that's got all the needs taken care of, as far as, you know, making sure it comes at a, you know, clean place, where it comes from, proper, you know, now you're reading about fentanyl-laced marijuana and all this other crap. I mean, that's one of the perks of buying from you guys, but what else? What do you guys offer that really is worth the extra cost that the people in Facebook world talk about?
Yeah, I think lab testing is a big part of it.
You know what you're getting.
Exactly. Like, you know, well, the potency, you know that's clean, doesn't have any pesticides, mold,
100%.
yeast. And I think for me, that's pretty much the main thing for me. Is it clean? Back in the day, like, I don't know what was on it. I had stuff with white crust on it. Like, who knows what it was, but, you know, we still used it. So
that's another big advantage is the staff, right? So we've got, you know, our staff have been trained to deal with medical patients. They understand the products, and we'll be training them on the adult use market. There are some nuances and differences there, but to be able to talk to a consumer and explain to them what an edible is, what the onset time should be, you know, we always say, you know, start low, go slow, but working through those products so that they know what they're getting. And that's a big difference between, you know, a regulated marketplace and an illicit market where you just kind of get what you get. You don't know where it came from. You don't know what it, you know, like we see it particularly with CBD products, you know, where products may not have any CBD in them at all, right? And
I'm pretty sure that most don't.
Well,
not
you know, like
now, because there's how many CBD companies?
It's not regulated, you know, and we're so purchasing in a regulated marketplace, you understand, one, where it's grown. You know that the products that are being sold over the counter in the regulated facilities are being grown in Massachusetts by Massachusetts growers, tested in Massachusetts laboratories. You know, whereas if you're buying on the illicit market, who knows? You know, it can be coming from California, Mexico, where it may be coming from here, but you just don't know. And so I think the education that can happen at the point of sale is a big differentiator, particularly for people that may not have a long-standing relationship with cannabis.
Exactly.
And they may be looking for, you know, I would just look at our medical patients. You know, 70% of them are accessing cannabis to get rid of prescription medication, right? So obviously pain medication is one, but, you know, sleep. So think about Ambien. Cannabis as a replacement for
100%.
sleep medication,
And that's what I wanted to
anxiety.
ask you, if you don't mind me cutting you off, there are differences in the strains of marijuana that you guys are particularly trained in when you're making these, right? You recommend, if I walk in as a consumer or somebody with a card, I have pain or I have anxiety or I want to sleep, and then you could literally, I've never inhaled it before, but you know, I didn't know the difference.
Yeah.
But there are differences, like of consuming one type at a certain time of the day if you want it for a certain reason. Is that am I close?
Yeah, you have, you know, just even for us, like we have 28 different strains right now. Every strain has a different cannabinoid profile, and you know, we can't tell you, hey, this is going to work for you, but we've also seen over 3,000 patients now. And we can kind of say, hey, this is what worked for that patient, and kind of use that to help you with what you need.
Excellent. And yeah, I was, you know, oh, you must have smoked some indica or whatever, you know, and I didn't know any of that stuff.
We think the products too is where we're really, you know, starting to build out our own portfolio of producing our own products in-house. And we know what plant materials going into that. We know what the formulation is, and so we can talk to them about specifically whether it's the drinks that we have on the menu now, or the lozenges, or the tinctures, the transdermal patches, the capsules. I mean, you know, we've got probably over 45 different products on the menu right now. That's a big difference from when we were here 6 months ago. We were largely just flour.
That's it, yeah. Just flour.
I got a question from Annie. Hi, Chris, Chap, and Tim. I have some questions for Chap and Tim. Of course, I'm just the idiot who just moderates. Nobody wants them. What was the hardest part of opening Basque? And what tips do you have for someone who's interested in opening up such a facility?
What was the hardest part? Well,
you said it last time.
Yes.
You got a minute? It's gonna be a while.
You know, time. Like, you know, for us, it took us 5.5 years to get open. You know, you got to stick with it. Most people, they have this idea like, yeah, I want to go sell some cannabis. And guess what? Like, well, there's a lot of steps to get to that point. You know, when it comes to the community, capital is one of the biggest ones. You know,
Yeah, we just talked about it. He just, and you guys aren't familiar with the Roth. That took a while for him to build up. And, and he burned both of them.
Yeah, twice. You know, now it's not looking good, but it's getting there.
Bro, you'll be good.
Yeah, but you know, raising capital, like everybody thinks, you know, this is going to be easy. It costs millions of dollars. You know, and if you don't have the capital, you can't open. It's that simple.
It's challenging. I mean, there's just a continual like needle in haystacks, whether it's finding a location or finding an investor, finding capital, and then finding a town, and you know, building out your team and making sure you know you've got good, relevant skill sets on it. But you know, it's like any other business. You know, what were you doing previously in your life, and how can you apply that experience in the cannabis industry? You know, and I think
how does a scalloper? I was making fun of him. He said it was cold. He walked in cold.
Scalloping, you know, it's
on a boat. What are we doing?
I'm getting soft. I don't know. My truck's heated steering wheels. It's
right?
Air conditioned seats now. I'm like, oh man.
Throw the hands on the plow. Put your head down and just push. Yeah. You know, like that's a big part of it. It's just hard work.
I think everybody thinks everybody has the best ideas. You know, you see it on Facebook all the time too. But everybody thinks they know how to do it. But until you're actually in it and just moving forward. You don't really know, and you can't listen to everybody else. Well, this is what you should do. Every one of my family members wants to give me advice. It was completely the wrong advice. It's like, all right.
Yeah. I think last time we went over the raising of the funds. Like you guys were at it for quite some time, finding your own ways to give up your own retirement funds for it, sacrifice that, and then have to chase investors. It's not just didn't happen overnight, you know. One thing that I did want to bring up, and something that surprised me, because I didn't think it was this high of a number. Currently, you guys employ 27 local employees.
I think we're 30 now.
So you're at 30 employees at that one location. Plus, a lot of people don't realize you guys are somewhat tied in with American, which is the...
I'll put my American hat on.
All right, ready?
So
yeah, explain American and how much the possible economic gains the region will have due to that facility.
I mean, it's something we're really proud of, right? We're all from this part of the world, you know, from the South Coast. We grew up around here. To be able to come back and, you know, bring 30 good jobs into Fairhaven. You know, we built out a great team. You can feel it in there. It's entrepreneurial. There's an energy and, you know, pardon the pun, a buzz, you know, from the facility. And, you know, to be able to then take that and really kind of scale it up into Freetown. You know, we've got a 10,000 square foot building in Fairhaven where we're employing these 30 people. We're building a 30,000 square foot facility as the first phase, 3% of a project that will be able to expand out to 1 million square feet over time. You know, so we're looking at probably another 35 to 40 jobs coming out of that 30,000 square foot facility. At full build out of the American facility, we're looking somewhere in the order of 350 jobs. So it's...
That puts you up there in the number of employees in this region.
Yep.
For one company.
Well, it'll be under separate entities. So
as far as, yeah,
but in terms of
your grow facility will be one, and obviously, so you're probably capped off for what, 30, 35 consumers, or you plan on going up once we go recreational at the Fairhaven location?
How many employees will we have there?
Yeah.
You know, so we have delivery, we just started delivery, so we're gonna probably need a couple more, but probably 35, you're probably about right.
So you're 35 there, and then...
Well, but then, I mean, you think, like, that's with right now running 3 point of sale stations. We've got 6, we go to rec, you know, we're gonna look at probably, probably 40 to 45 staff members just to keep shifts.
That's a good size business in this region.
It's a big ship.
It is, honestly, it really is. And the money that's generating alone, you know. These are the parts of the process that when people kind of look down at the industry, you got to take note of it.
Take the whole, right, so that...
You got to look at it. And not only that, you're employing, I mean, he was telling me about when we did the tour, which we'll link, we got a ton of pictures. Josh, our producer, took some excellent pictures the last time we were there. We throw those back up. I was probably 20 pounds heavier, so don't get mad. And
I picked it up.
And, I mean, the place was awesome, but you also not only have your employees, the other people you put in business because of your business, you know?
Yeah, so we have Hal's, they do the tincture, and then we have Alta, they do beverages for us. So we get to help other people with their business as well.
100%. On the topic of employment, Josh Bowers asks, what are the requirements to get hired at Basque? Is there a drug test?
Yes, and you have to have cannabis in your system. No drug test. You know, there's not a lot of requirements, but you know, work ethic is a lot to it. You know, people drop off resumes all the time, and you know, some of them are pretty inappropriate. But you know, a good person will get hired. You know, a lot of people come to the building like, oh, I was doing this on the black market, that on the black market. I can't have that, you know. But you know, there's no actual real requirements. And quite frankly, most people that like college educated, like, oh, I want to come extract for you. I got a degree in chemistry. They've never even seen a cannabis plant before, you know. So a lot of people like doing that. You need cannabis experience, you know,
100%.
whether it's coming from black market or from the legal market, some kind of cannabis experience.
Street degrees sometimes pretty much work. I mean, you got some very famous billionaires that didn't have their bachelor's in anything.
That's true.
That made it, and I can go through the list.
I think on the like the cultivation side, like you don't need a degree in horticulture. I have no degree. You know, I did 4.5 years in the Army. I was a commercial fisherman, but I've read as much as I could. I've taken classes, not cannabis classes. I went to learn to grow lettuce, crop production, you know, tomato production, stuff like that.
Excellent.
Anything, pesticide class, you name it. Anything you can get for knowledge can all go into cannabis.
How about on the business end, Tim?
We post jobs, you know, when they're available on Indeed. So that's the best way to kind of track them down and find out when we are hiring.
New Bedford guys are a great source for it.
Yep. And there is a background check, so that's
Sure.
one kind of
100%.
barrier to get
You're
through.
dealing with
all staff members. You know,
Federal
so,
and state background check.
and then we register each staff member with the state, so everybody has a unique registered agent card. So it's the onboarding process is lengthy, you know, so it can take anywhere from, you know, posting the job, finding a candidate, bringing them in, and then another month, and it's about $1,000 to bring them in. And then annually, every year, do background check.
So it costs you $1,000 to get these people employed.
So right at this point, with 30 staff members, we're paying $30,000 a year just in licensing fees to the Department of Public Health and background checks just to maintain those employees.
That's unbelievable.
You know what's great is when you hire somebody and then you have to fire them a week later. You're like, man, that cost me a lot of money. You know, so. Not everybody works
You're getting an
out.
entrepreneur lesson here tonight, folks. It's not just a cannabis lesson. You're getting a real-world experience on what it takes to run a business, and you know, when you're a scumbag employee, the cost that it entails to the employer. You got tons of comments. A lot of people participating today. Excellent staff. I've been there many times, and the staff is always helpful. That's Matthew J. Taylor. David Lima says that the state has always been the drug dealer. Excellent. What about the CBD gummy bears? I get that at this store because I don't have a medical card, so even they say CBD, could it really be none? Again, it's not regulated.
You never know.
Yeah, it's not regulated. We actually, another one of the dispensaries has like a biochemist on board, and he went out and purchased a bunch of products, CBD products off of the market, whether you can get them on Amazon or different websites or vape shops and different areas, and it took them to the state laboratory and had them tested, and you know they were just all over the place. Some, you know, no CBD. You know, some said they were 50 milligrams, and they were 50 milligrams. Others were, you know, 100 or 25. You know, they claimed to have no THC. 2 of them had THC in them. So it's a really an unregulated marketplace if you're not purchasing within that.
I'm sure a lot of people here know what
State
CBDs
program.
are, but I'm not sure all of them do. So you guys obviously offer them, right? Correct?
Sure.
Maybe you could give a quick 30-second synopsis on what they are and exactly how they're consumed and sold, and that way we could kind of educate the viewers on exactly what CBD products and the advantages to them are.
So cannabidiol, or CBD, it's good for anti-inflammation. It's really good for just about everything, you know, for wellness. And they come in just about every product you can think of. For us, like we have different formulations, some with THC, some with almost no THC. Depending on how you want to feel. So,
But all that's done with cannabis that's grown at the facility.
I was
you
gonna,
know,
my
you
next
walk
question,
through, right?
in-house made?
Yeah,
Definitely.
a lot of the products that you see on the marketplace that you can order on Amazon or, at the vape shops, are coming, they're hemp derived. So they're, grown in fields and then extracted in bulk, and then sometimes in China or, overseas. There's a hemp bill, the farm bill is actually legalizing hemp, so we'll start seeing some domestic produced hemp CBD. But there are some differences between this hemp CBD and cannabis derived CBD, and I think we're able to get a full spectrum plant at a facility like ours that may have a little bit of THC, which, can prove to be beneficial for some of the benefits of cannabis or CBD. But then also has some of the terpenes and a lot of the other components that make up a full spectrum cannabis plant.
call it the entourage effect.
Correct.
So a little bit of everything.
Can you get it without the THC at your place?
Currently, no, but
We have one product, we have the lozenge, is just straight
Straight
CBD,
yes.
no THC.
Well, that's a question because a lot of people
Yep.
still get tested for it.
Yep.
And kind of want to.
That's probably the number one question is, if I take this product, am I gonna fail a drug test?
It's got THC, yes.
Yes, you will,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then some of the products that you purchase where you think it's just CBD and it has a little bit of THC in it.
Surprise.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
See some NFL players going down for that.
Hopefully not for long.
Yeah, hopefully not.
I mean, you're talking about, we can dive into that, the whole realm of pain management. And, people look at it, oh, it's weed, blah, blah, blah. There are effects of the THC that can help in the pain management situation.
There's a lot of people that are actually using it to replace their pills right now, and I think personal experience as a fisherman, most people down the waterfront are using something. I would much rather be next to the guy that was using cannabis than next to the guy that's using opiates or heroin, who's going to almost kill me by dropping a barrel on me or something like that. So there's a little bit of different fog.
Well, you and I talked about it in the past, and we got a few minutes left on this segment.
Sure.
You straight up said it. If it's time to work, it's time to work. Whether it's a beer at lunch or a joint at lunch, you're not supposed to do it.
No.
When you're on the clock, do what you got to do. And that goes for any type of narcotic or anything like that. If you want to consume responsibly, and you were an advocate for it when we talked.
Sure.
And, we talked off camera plenty of times, and it seems like that's how you believe.
Well, everybody assumes that I use cannabis all day, and I don't. I actually just came off 3 months with no cannabis because I didn't have time for it, and I've been pretty pain-free for a while, too. I do have titanium hip, I have scoliosis, my body's a little bit of a
If
mess.
you were a horseman, they'd put you down.
Exactly. So, but I've used it for pain for a long time. I haven't even taken a Tylenol in over 5 years.
Excellent.
But I haven't needed it. I took 3 months off, and I felt great. Last year, I took 4 months off.
So you have control of it.
Yes.
And that's the main thing.
There's a time and a place for everything, and I think it's just not appropriate at the workplace sometimes. It's not a place to be.
It's like,
foggy.
one of the I think misconceptions about the industry is that it's just going to be this fascinating, like particularly working with the plants, like it's, everyone's so passionate about it, it's going to be so exciting, and,
Kumbaya.
the guys in the back take their job very seriously.
You guys were working with them.
And
It
they're
wasn't a
there,
show.
right, but they could be making bicycles or widgets or growing cannabis. It's really, the novelty wears off, and then it's just, about plant maintenance, and it becomes a job. But I think that the kind of excitement.
You got to be on top of your game.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. Especially the schedule that we have in the back, like it's regimented.
Oh, I know. Yeah, you had very expensive stuff back there that actually regulates time, work, effort, and everything's going to be there, and it's all going to be done in a timely manner. When you explained it to us, I was like, oh my goodness.
Listen, if we miss one day, it puts us back a long time. Like we miss a day of clones, it puts us back 8 weeks.
What have I missed, Tim?
That
You really want to get across about the industry, about the recreational stuff, and actually, one quick question: New Bedford guy wants to know: are you guys expanding into New Bedford?
So I've danced around with it quite a bit, and I think if I could find the right building, I definitely would. And we've worked with South Coast Chamber and some of the counselors, we've had conversations, and, you know, it's nice, Fairhaven's great. I'd love to have something on the other side of the city. And if we find the right place, definitely expand.
Other side of the city, like west?
As in, yeah, West End, you know, kind of, it's, I don't want to put one a mile, you know,
Yeah, it
away
doesn't
from the
make sense.
shop,
I
you know,
understand
so that's, you know,
Unless
kinda
it
split the
becomes like a
city.
Dunkin' Donuts where you can put them right across the street and they both make $1 million, then you're in good shape.
Line of sight dispensaries.
Yeah, exactly.
We definitely want to expand, and finding that right location, you know, takes time, and it does take capital, and, you know.
And resources, right? You know, like Basque has been a startup from day one 5.5 years ago, and I think, you know, we've got a facility that we've taken through, and it's open, it's operating, and it's, you know, really not providing any negative impact on the surrounding community. We'd like to be able to maximize, you know, the opportunity that we have there to participate in both medical and rec, and then from that, I think we get a nice launch pad to kind of say, okay, and now we can go do the next one. But we've run into this before in the past where we, you know, if they spread the resources too thin, nothing gets done, and so that's been something we've been really focused on with the team at Basque, is just, you know, eyes on target, you know, like let's just
Good.
get go, get
Like
Fairhaven going.
Let's get this one running correctly, running right, so it runs itself, and then.
Just like
let's
any
move
other
on.
good business.
Exactly.
100%. A couple things going on that you guys, I'm going to be honest with you, these guys are always involved in the community. And they're always doing something, and it's amazing. Spread the warmth. It took 3 of us piling jackets out of there to get it out of your building.
That's fun.
Thank you. These guys are not only businessmen in the community employing people, paying their taxes and getting other people money and, you know, providing a service, they're also good, they give back to the community. And you're participating in some good stuff that you're
Sure.
talking about?
You know, I think public service is important, you know. I'm on the Conservation Committee, Agriculture Commission. I kind of, I don't preach, but I tell everybody, staff members, like, hey, what else are you doing? Because everybody can just go to work and go home. It's easy, you know, but try to do something for other people.
100%.
So right now, we have 2 things going on. So the New Bedford Fire Department, teamed up with them, we're doing a toy drive, so people can drop off toys till December 10th. And then Veterans Alternative Healing, Stephen, we're collecting gift cards, jackets, blankets for homeless veterans.
You heard it, guys. Toys, jackets. Toys, if you can't make it to them, go see me Sunday, 12 to 3. Sarah and Brandy, top shelf.
Should we weigh them out?
Sarah's watching. I don't want to get a right hook next time I see her. I told her I
We can
promise.
bring the scales. We want to weigh out the toys and who collects more. But,
And I had a bad joke on the expansion into another town. I said, "Oh, you missed out. Baker Books just shut down. You could have used the Baker building for your next cannabis venture, but they knocked it down and somewhere out in that way." But guys, you know, continued success.
Thank you.
Well, I'll always be in touch with you guys. You guys are great guys, and really doing it right in the community. You know, just reaching out, accessible, knowledgeable, and giving back. And that's important. And the grow facility, when's that going to really?
So steel building's dropped off. We've got a construction trailer on site. Greenhouse will be on the property at the end of December, and we should be ready for plants sometime June-ish.
Not soon enough.
Yeah.
I'll see you then.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, we'll go by there. And again, a Tesla charging spot there?
Have you seen the renderings? We have an electric car charging station. That's correct.
Awesome.
Solar. We're
I'm
trying
doing
to-
business with a girl right now. She just left Vegas, the big thing last week,
Yep,
2 weeks
the
ago.
business conference.
I told her I was meeting with you guys. She goes, "You gotta introduce me to." I said, "Don't worry, I'll introduce you." And I said, and she drives a Tesla. And I said, and they're putting a charging port. She goes, "I'll be there all the time." I'm like, "All right, you do what you gotta do." Guys, thank you so
Fantastic.
much.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Yeah,
you.
it's always a pleasure.
Anything I can do ever to plug any of the goodwill you're doing, please let me know.
You got
Appreciate
it.
it.
Please let me know. That's it, guys. Guys from Basque. Again, always doing the right thing in the community. We're doing a little switch off over here. I don't know how you guys are going to get around all these wires. You can go behind me. It's fine. They can actually see how the green screen works without knocking anything over. And then our second portion of the show is really a hot topic. See you. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, man.
Chat. In the area. We have the charter school situation where everybody either loves it, and then you got the city people who are crying that the world's going to burn if we continue to grow the charters. And that's not the case. Charter schools have been around for quite some time. We had both Will and a few of his staff on before. Tonight we're bringing Will and another staff member, as well as a student's parent, to discuss how they feel about the expansion of charter schools in the city, the benefits, and I want some questions from the viewers as to exactly what your thoughts are. I reached out to the educators page on Facebook, and I invited them to, bring in their question and comments. I want to keep this as civil as possible and as informational as possible. There's a lot of misconceptions going on currently in this area, I believe. I personally haven't toured all the facilities, but I definitely toured Will's place a few months ago. And as I told my wife, who's a New Bedford public educator, and I told a parent of an Alma student, the kids who go there are pretty fortunate. It's a good place, and the benefit of having your child there is staggering, I believe. It was a great, I would like my child to be there. I think Manny was on, and he was like, man, my kid's on the waiting list to be there.
Unfortunately, still on there, yeah.
Yes, so we're just going to knock it all out, Will. We got a half hour. We're on a tight schedule, and you've got an iPad again filled with stuff. But let me just introduce everyone. Vera, you are
I'm a parent.
a parent of a student. What grade? 2 students.
Yep. Both in second.
Second.
Mm-hmm.
Emily?
My name is Emily Darrow. I'm the Dean of Scholar Support at Alma.
What does the Dean of Scholar Support at Alma do?
So my job is to make sure that every scholar at Alma Del Mar gets whatever kind of support they need. So I'm more comparable to like a special education director in the district.
Excellent. I kind of wanted you to say, we call our students scholars.
We do call
I
our
did
students
notice
scholars.
that.
True.
And Will's the big dog on campus, and he's got a great shoe selection.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. I'll
We have
get you a
the same
pair.
shoes, that's why.
That's right.
A lot's been going on since we last met, Will.
Certainly.
It's been this and that, and charter schools are going to make the world burn, and charter schools are the best, and your student can't come to my school because they're not performing well. We already talked about that. I'm just throwing out all the stuff that's out there in Facebook world.
Sure. Yeah.
And I definitely. You have to pay to go to a charter school, right? Is that one of the differences between? First question. We're just going to let.
Well, we can dispel those myths here,
we're
Chris.
gonna go
Happy
through it.
to.
I really want to just really
absolutely.
make this as informational as possible.
Sure. Yeah.
Because we've already kind of gone over the feel good about our last time here, and we could have gone on for like an hour. I'm a fan of yours, but I want to make this as fair as possible.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Both sides. And we can start right off the bat. And there's 2 questions. The first is, do you have to pay to go to a charter school? Is that the difference between the public and the charter school?
Yeah. So Chris, we're called the charter public school, which means we're a public school. So you don't have to pay to go to our school. In fact, we're open to anyone in the city of New Bedford. Now, because there's such demand for our school, the state regulates us and makes people enter a blind lottery for admission. So our scholars come to us from the tip of the south end to the tip of the north end. All New Bedford kids coming to us through a blind lottery. Nobody pays, nobody takes a test, nobody has to do anything special to get in.
Now, I'm getting a graph here ready, so.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to get it to Josh, so that way.
Oh, wow, you're just diving into the data. You're not kidding.
No, that's not it at all. I just want to make sure that I get it all to the proper place. And one of the things that I hear all the time is the selection process.
Right.
And we already went through this, and I know it's a huge thing that people are saying. And the main part I want to focus on, because you can go through it quickly, the selection process, but the retention of your students and the rate of retention.
Oh, okay.
Because you hear. I think you understand why I'm making this question the way
Sure.
and I want that because you understand. You've heard what people are saying. how is a student lucky enough to get into your school?
Right. So again, it's blind luck. You fill out your name and address, put it on a piece of paper.
We're online now.
Yeah, and we have an application online now, so you can do it on your smartphone. What we've done in the past is we make sure that we get those applications into hands of people who might not otherwise hear about us. So we do a lot of door-to-door work. Of course, there's a lot of our families now that distribute applications. We make sure we get out there and distribute applications to folks whose home language might not be English, so we're advertising in Spanish and Portuguese, and we have applications in other languages as well. And then you're just assigned a number in a lottery, and there's a randomized drawing of those numbers, and the first numbers that come up get the first available spots. It's really that simple. Everybody else ends up, unfortunately, on a waiting list. So that's how we do it. But it'd be interesting, Vera. I forgot what your process was like. Which lottery you came in? Do you want to talk about the experience? How
Sure.
Look at Will taking over the questions on the show. I'm just gonna.
Well, I'd like to hear from firsthand
I had
from
my
an
questions
actual
for her, but
family.
hold on,
Yeah.
let me just move seats with Will real fast. Retention before Vera goes.
Okay.
I want to know the retention rate on your students, because one of the things that's going around is you have such a successful school because you're kicking out the bottom feeders of the school. And I hate to say it that way, but that's pretty much what it sounds like.
Oh, okay. Emily, you want to talk about all the kids that we've expelled?
Not expelled, but just dismissed out.
Or dismissed. Yeah.
Sure. Well, to answer your question, Will, we've expelled 0 scholars since we opened in 2011. So every scholar that has come through our doors has been welcomed or is coming through the lottery. To answer your question about attrition, we have an attrition rate last year about 5%.
So 95% of your students are staying.
Yep.
And let's just put that into numbers, because percentages can be wacky depending on what size group we're using. What is your student population?
443 today.
Yep.
So 20 students.
Yeah, 20, 22, 5%. Yeah, so I think in the last 5 years, our attrition rate has been 4.1% over the last 5 years.
So under 20 students a year.
Yep. And Chris, you have to take into account a few things. One is we have great colleagues in the Global Learning Charter School, and they are a 5 through 12. We do have some families that are interested in getting their kids into that school for the high school. So we do see some attrition due to our scholars wanting that experience, and we're happy for them. I think that's a good thing.
And I think you and I talked about it last time, that some of these students are actually moving out of district.
Yeah, unfortunately, we do have families that move away. That happens, right? We hope it's for good reasons that they have to. But we also serve. We're in New Bedford, right? We serve a mobile population, so you're going to expect some mobility in the population. One thing that we do hear, though, and we started hearing this more and more the past couple of years, we've heard families say, I was going to move out of town. I was going to move to some nearby community or move to Rhode Island. We're sticking around until our child finishes here at Alma, until they finish the 8th grade. So we've been able to actually keep some families here in New Bedford and to kind of stem some of that potential attrition due to the quality of, I think, the teaching. It's really our teachers who do it.
I thought you had a wonderful classroom presence by each of the staff member. And but what I mean by classroom presence is they made sure that all the kids were present as well.
That's
each and every time a student was either answering a question or listening to the instructor, they were doing this thing like this if they agree, and something else if they didn't.
If they disagree,
And
that's right.
You could see that you didn't really see much of this, and just. And we're talking about children that, my attention span's that of a child at this point. Nevertheless,
that's right.
A real child. And they were pretty much engaged. So the learning environment was really, really good.
Yep.
Now we can get to Vera.
All right.
Back to the whole enrollment process. How did you decide that you wanted your children, both children, to be a part of Alma and to, leave the public sector of not the traditional schools, because they're all public, and then go to the charter school?
So we decided that we wanted to apply at Alma after my son had completed kindergarten in a traditional classroom. And so I had heard of Alma, so that's where I wanted my kids to go, essentially.
You heard from other parents, or?
Right, from other parents. I remember a friend of mine had kids there, and, I'd always see pictures on Facebook and, their uniforms, and I wanted that for my kids, So I went to the school at that point. They still had the old building, and they gave me 2 applications, and I filled them out, and then they invited me to the lottery. So I went, and both of my kids were placed on a wait list. A few weeks later, I had gotten a call from Alma that they had a spot open at that point for my son, in which he started. He did his, he started Alma in September, August, actually. And then my daughter remained on the waiting list for a year. And then the following year was when she was called.
Now, you try to accommodate parents. So
Yeah.
say like one kid makes the lottery. Do you try to accommodate the parents?
Yeah, and it's rare that you have a sibling have to wait for that long, because siblings of currently enrolled scholars, they're the only ones who have any kind of preference. So they jump to the top of the waiting list. Unfortunately, with that class, we had a group of siblings on the waiting list, so she was behind a few siblings.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now, how long have your kids been in that school? Well, your son.
So 2 years.
2 years, and then 1 year for your daughter.
Yep, so this is her second year, and this will be his third year.
And they're both in second grade, you said, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What's the one thing that you've noticed, especially knowing the difference now, because one was in a traditional school and one was in the charter school? Did you notice a difference in learning? I mean, each child's different, so it's kind of a tough question to really answer. Each child learns differently at different speeds. I mean, I have 2 children, and they're this and this. So, But did you see a difference in the 2 of them and how their education was going throughout that year where they were both in separate schools?
Yes, I did.
What was the differences?
Well, let me just start by telling you that when my son started at Alma, he could not read. And within the first quarter, I want to say, they worked so hard with him that, the kid was reading. I couldn't believe it. It was, transformation that I was not expecting that at all. Same thing with my daughter. I mean, at her age, she has, other peers that are in a traditional classroom, so not in her school, and there's a huge difference.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
So, you're a fan,
I
obviously, if we'll get you here. I mean, what's the best part now? Because you're noticing that they also have a larger schedule, like as far as days are longer, shorter vacations, more hours of schooling. And that's one thing I didn't realize. I mean, you guys go basically another whole month, I think, if you add up all the days and times. Actually, more than that, isn't it?
Close to it. Ends up being about 30% more time in school maybe than the school down the street.
Yeah, because between the hours
Exactly.
and then the shorter
Yeah.
vacation times.
Yeah.
Which I hope the teachers are compensated for that extra teaching.
They actually start, I think it's 3 weeks before the kids go back to school. They
How
are
does that make
already
you feel,
in the
though,
building.
honestly? Because that's a question, because as a parent in the
That's
summertime,
awesome.
yeah?
I mean, as a parent, you appreciate that. I mean, I do, to know that these educators are back to school that early. I mean, they're getting ready for their classrooms, and another great thing that they do, they try everything in getting the scholars engaged.
Oh, yeah. I noticed that. That's one thing I did notice. And to be fair, I haven't toured a New Bedford public school in a while. So, in fairness. But I was thrown back when, I worked in your school. And it was, they do engage. They definitely do. And we snuck up in a couple. I'm like, oh, they know I'm here. And it wasn't like that at all. And I was like, sometimes, you go visit places and it's kind of like a ha-ha,
Right.
Kelly Vilteo, so glad her son goes to this school. That's good.
Thanks, Billy.
So as a parent, you're just extremely happy with the decision.
I am.
There's got to be something that you don't like about it. If not, you're gonna lie to me. Because there's always something. As a parent,
Oh yeah,
I mean, you know,
be honest.
there's got to be something.
I don't know.
And I'm
That's
sure he'll
far from
appreciate the
perfect.
criticism.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Came on my show, you didn't expect softballs, did you?
Yeah, Chris, we do regular family surveys too, so we hear a lot from families.
By regular, like every couple months, every quarter?
A
or
couple
half
times a year,
Yeah.
we do a full survey, and then we do some smaller surveys along the way as well when we want to collect data on certain things. So we did a smaller survey recently on teacher communication. We wanted to look at some patterns there. In addition, we do a full survey that's the same questions twice a year, every year.
What are you noticing that you need improvement on?
Oh, I mean, the survey has, and just input from families in general has made us change a lot of things. So one of the major things we changed in recent years was actually our start time. We moved our start time back a little later. It was more convenient for families. We just found for their schedules it was working better.
By back?
We used to start, let me see, we used to have a 7:30 start time.
I think we opened the doors at 7:45. 7:30.
Yeah, we opened it at 7:30 before. Now we're open at 8. So
See, to me, that would.
Little
That's
bit of a
one
shift.
thing that I
earlier,
still don't get is, these schools opening, get your kid to school at 8:45.
right.
Like
Right.
9 to 5 doesn't exist anymore.
No, yeah, and it's a balance too between the the developmental needs of kids and kids of different age. They find what age are your kids again? I forget.
6 and 3.
6 and 3. Okay, yeah. So when we get up into middle school, we find we have some kids who don't really wake up until 9 or 10 a.m. So you have to strike a balance there. But that was one of the things we changed. We've changed our food vendor twice now due to parent input, and we'll have families come in and taste test, and vendors really have to prove themselves to our kids and to our families. We've changed our uniform vendor as well, and we've made just a number of tweaks along the way due to family input. And I think that's one of the advantages of our model and our structure is. Look, we were founded by a group of educators, a group of families here in New Bedford, and so we've always been able to be really responsive to families.
Let's get down to some numbers.
Yeah, let's do it.
MCAS.
Yeah.
You guys are pretty much top tier in comparison to the competition. Is that fair to say?
It depends, how you're looking at things. No, I think we actually have a long way to go because for us, our competition is places like Wellesley, right? And right now, not all of our grades are at the Wellesley level. Last year, our third graders in math were at the Wellesley level. We need all of our grades, all subjects to be there. If we're competing, that's who we're competing with. We're really not spending a whole lot of time comparing ourselves with our sending district, believe it or not, although other people certainly love to pit it as an us versus them thing. That's not what we're thinking about. We are happy whenever kids from New Bedford do well, and especially our scholars. I will say, we have always had strong performance since we started. Our scholars perform at or above the state level generally on the state tests. We have the highest scoring middle school scholars in the city on the MCAS, and we know we've got a lot of room for improvement. I think another place where we're particularly proud, I could go on for hours about MCAS and data. One of the places, though, where we're particularly proud is how our subpopulations of scholars do. So if you look at various groups of scholars within our population, I think you see some populations that stand out, especially compared to their district or their statewide peers. And
those being?
Well, Emily's the expert here on this stuff.
Yeah.
I actually have that chart popped up.
Oh, great.
Oh, sure, yeah. So as our Dean of Scholar Support, I spent a lot of time thinking about how our students with disabilities are doing and how our English language learners are doing. And so that's something that we're really proud of in the last year. So our scholars with disabilities, we want them to be performing at the same level as all of our scholars, is what our average is. And so similar to what we were saying before, we're not quite there. There is a gap between how our scholars with disabilities and our general education scholars are doing. But that said, that gap is every single year closing and closing. And And in some areas also, our English language learners and our scholars with disabilities are performing well above their state and other peers. So there's definitely a lot of strengths there too.
And there's something to be said about that because, you know, what I'm trying to do here is dispel some of the nonsense you hear and yet maybe get to the bottom of some of the stuff that actually may be factual. And one of the things that you do hear a lot is that your school isn't equipped for people with disabilities or English as a second language, or you're kicking these students out, which we already kind of went through, that you're only dumping 20 attrition. I say dumping, well, I'm dumbing down what it is, that you're losing 20 students, scholars per year, and different reasons why, not just that they're, we didn't really, there's really no bullseye on why there, because everyone's different. According to the stats here and what you're showing, the ELL students and the students with disabilities, it seems to be that you do have the staff to you know, to help them excel because because they're improving, and that's something that, I mean, I'm looking at stuff that you provided, and I'm going to take it that it's the truth, and we're just going to.
Well, this is stuff the state provides to us.
Okay, we're just going to make sure that, you know, we put it out there. This is info that I'm getting from you, and from the looks of it, if it is on board, which I'm automatically assuming it is, I wouldn't have you here if I thought you'd come here and just lie to everybody. It seems like you have a staff that can rise to the occasion and help these students that have these learning disabilities or that they don't understand English as their first language at home.
Yeah, and I think something we pride ourselves on having a high demand and high support model for our scholars, and there is also some overlap in those populations. We have scholars who have disabilities and our English language learners, and we're making sure that we consider all the different types of needs that they might have. We have a variety of literacy specialists, we have an ELL specialist, we have a social emotional specialist, so we have you know, a pretty built out staff actually of adults who are working with scholars depending on their needs, and many of those scholars see many of those adults throughout their day, and you know, largely those adults, their role is to help those kids access their regular curriculum.
Now, well, a lot of this finance, this is going to be something that we're really going to talk about. We got about 9 minutes to go, and this is one thing that was brought up yesterday at the city council. I'm sure you made aware of it instantly when they said that they got to go up on taxes, and one of the first things they said why it was a unanimous vote that taxes need to be increased, and it's there on the press release.
Right.
Charter schools.
That's right.
So now they're blaming your charter schools on the need to raise taxes.
Yeah, that's right.
And we already went through the reimbursement the last time.
Right.
You could touch upon that a little bit and kind of, I don't know if you want to dispel the whole financial aspect of this argument that, you know, taxes had to go up because of charter schools amongst some, but it just caught me because when I read the article, the first of all things, there's a million things going on in the city.
Of course.
Overinflated pensions, bad decisions on insurance, you know, not streamlined production of employees and all. You can go on and on stuff that should have probably been taken care of years ago. The first thing that was put out there was charter schools was one of the reasons why.
That's interesting. I think we certainly can be, I think, an easy target
100%
for the powers that be. You know, just a quick recap on the funding, how it works, and I think nobody would disagree with, I think, how you characterized it before, this idea that the money follows the child, right? So there's state money that's provided for education of each public school student. There's a per pupil allocation that's determined for each student that goes to a charter school, and when a family like Vera's family decides to send their child to our school, that money accompanies them. Now, that money is a little less than the district might receive per pupil. They back out certain costs, and there's a whole formula for it, but it's roughly equivalent.
Okay. Now, let me just interject real quick. the student, we're going to go back to attrition,
Right.
leaves your school, does the money still follow them, or does that money
Right,
stay
yeah,
with you
so
guys?
our-
Because that's
our-
something that we hear all the time.
Exactly, yeah, no, there's this myth that we can somehow, we get the money, and if the student goes, we get to hold on to the money, but unfortunately, not unfortunately, that's just not how it works. So, just like any other public school, they look at our enrollment, or just like any other charter, they look at our enrollment to determine our, what they call tuition payment, and they do that on a monthly basis, and if there's a change in our enrollment, then there's a change in that tuition money. So, it's just, they do it by the numbers. Now, I'm not sure kind of why they might go about kind of blaming, a current tax increase on charters in this city that, the students who have been going to our school and to Global Learning and to City on the Hill, most of them have been going to these schools for quite some time, right? So that funding has followed those kids, and it's been a long time. Some of our students have been at our school for 7 years now. So the city has certainly had time to adjust to their going to a different public school.
Yeah, we discussed that.
Yeah.
And all of the preparation or lack thereof could be
Right.
part of it.
Absolutely.
There is also something that we kind of agreed on. The state should do something and revamp how the funding.
If you're asking, should the state provide even more funding for urban public schools, as someone who runs an urban public school, I would say absolutely, right? And that's not just a statewide issue in Massachusetts, that's certainly a nationwide issue,
100%.
right? We certainly need to provide more adequate funding to our urban public schools especially. We just have so many responsibilities now. We're serving populations with really high needs, and I can certainly get behind that. I think that the other thing that comes up, and I know you'll probably bring up, is the Charter Reimbursement Fund.
Go at it, you bring it up.
And we can certainly support the full funding of that as well. And in fact, I've talked to legislators recently about making sure that gets fully funded in the years to come. As such, right now, it's still partially funded, so it does provide a soft landing for the district whenever a new student might come from the district to a charter school. So for example, with our proposed growth, if we are to go forward, it would mean that next year we'd have about 200 scholars, maybe less, maybe more, or probably not more, but maybe fewer, go to Alma, go to a new Alma, and then the year after that, we'd be hoping to add a few more. And so over those 2 years, the district would receive, the city would receive about $6.5 million in reimbursement, even if they're just doing the partial funding that they're doing now. Now we're hoping that they increase that reimbursement funding, but they'd be getting $6.5 million for students they no longer serve. So there is somewhat of a cushion. If you're asking, should there be more funding for all urban publics? Absolutely. If you're asking, should they fully fund the reimbursement? Absolutely. But I think saying, we need to wait around until, America gets its priorities straight till we allow for more high-quality schools to be created in the city, I think that becomes a red herring.
Excellent.
And Chris, I just want to say, people love to pit this as kind of an us versus them thing.
Oh, it's 100% what it is. I mean, and it's kind of driven, honestly.
Yeah.
And I've seen it.
Yeah.
By the union as well. The teachers' unions.
Yeah. Well, there's
are really
there's
fighting
folks all
against it.
around,
and I understand how they. My wife's a union member.
Yeah.
And I
As
get
is
it.
mine.
Yeah, I get it. I understand it, but go ahead with the us versus you, because ultimately it's the kids, and as educators, you guys are on the same game.
Well, what's amazing, Chris, is when we at Alma, get together with other educators. A couple months ago, we had a workshop on literacy. We invited, and we do this once or twice a year. We invited area educators. We had a group of district principals come. We're working side by side learning together, talking about the work. In that context, who cares about the governance model? We're all dealing with really tough challenges, right? We're all dealing with similar things and working together and trying to figure out, hey, how do we provide an adequate education for kids in New Bedford? And I've had several great meetings with Thomas Anderson, and I think
He's a good guy.
I agree, and I think we share a vision that I think I can speak for him in saying that we want families in New Bedford to be surrounded by high-quality school options. And so when you're talking about growing Alma, we're not talking about an us versus them or some kind of zero-sum game. We're talking about one step towards making that vision come true, which is, hey, Alma, we're running a school that families like. Let's create a couple more of those, create a couple more high-quality options. At the same time, I know Thomas Anderson, I know folks in the district are going to continue to work to create more high-quality school options within the district. And there's some really great schools in the district. Chris, last time I was here, I sang the praises of a handful of district schools. Yeah. So we are the first ones to do that. And we certainly have a lot of collaboration with district educators as well. So
I mean, that's how it should be.
Yeah,
you got to work together. You can't just it can't be an us versus them.
Right.
You're here to stay.
Yeah.
It's law. You're not going away.
Right.
You don't need their okay.
No.
And you don't. It doesn't really matter if they boo-hoo or badmouth you guys. The proof's in the pudding. The parents will leave if you're not putting out a good product.
Exactly.
And that's pretty much the bottom line at this point.
Right.
So to me, all this aggression towards you guys, I don't see the end game. What's the end game, honestly? What, just to make you guys look bad? Because if the parents are happy, who cares? Because they can't stop you. The mayor, I interviewed the mayor, and said, there's nothing we can do. They're entitled to open up.
Absolutely, and that's how the law was designed. The reason we're able to apply for these seats, and there's additional charter seats available set aside for New Bedford, is that for a long time now, unfortunately, New Bedford has remained in one of the bottom 10% performing districts in the state, and so the law that they passed, the act relative to the achievement gap, said in those districts where there's that demand for more high-quality schools, where there's been low performance for whatever reason, and we're not pointing fingers, but where there's been low performance for a period of time, hey, let's make some more high-quality options available. So that's really what it's about.
Excellent. Vera, did you know you were coming here to just talk for like 2 seconds and listen to a bunch of boring stuff? Are you regretting it?
No, not at all.
You're a supporter of the teachers. Have you found out what you change?
Sorry?
I'm not going to let you off the hook. You're going to have to tell me something to change. I'll get back to you. All right, we got about like another minute or two, Will.
Okay.
Josh is going to kill me if I say 2 minutes, so 1 minute.
All right.
Josh just got a lot going on, so we want to make sure we accommodate him as well. Emily, did we miss anything on that 16-page report that you brought in that you really feel like if there's one point, you came here for a reason? Reason being is that you want people to know the truth about you guys. What is it exactly, stat-wise or just, heart-to-heart wise, that you want to get across tonight to the audience? Because a lot of people, this is a hot topic.
Yeah, I think the thing that I would want to get across most of all is that we serve all kids and all families. We love our kids, we love our families. We want to partner with any New Bedford family who wants to choose Alma for their scholar or their scholars, like your family. So I think we're dedicated to serving every child that we have, and we do have kids with a variety of needs, both with very specialized needs and, every kid has needs. Every kid has areas of strength, every kid has areas of growth, and our job is to, highlight all of their strengths and help and work with them to, have all the opportunities that they want when they graduate from 8th grade and go on to high school and go on to college from there. So
class of 2029 and all
our,
that.
Our kindergarten class is
2035
this year.
See,
so,
I missed that math class.
Yeah, but that's really what we want, is to be able to have our families and our kids have the brightest future that they can. And so that's the part that sticks with me, is just making sure that we're doing this for them.
Excellent. Will, hit us off. Oh, your battery's getting low.
I know, I got a low battery.
What do you got there? You brought a lot of stuff. I don't
Well,
really want
I have to say, and I know you're a big fan of her as well. I have to say a happy birthday to Taylor DeLoach, our Dean of Culture. We met last time.
the singer.
That's right. And again, this isn't about an us versus them thing. The commissioner and the state is going to decide what they're going to decide on this. But really what this is about is making sure that we create as many high-quality school options as we can here in this city. And that's a vision that we share with a lot of other people here. And we certainly have a lot of families on board with that as well.
Excellent. Is there any way we can contact you guys if need be? And
absolutely.
If somebody needs some information and they want to get it across, any events coming up as well?
Well, first of all, if you want to support our expansion, you can sign on to a petition. It's almadelmarfoundation.org, so there's a foundation supporting that work.
Becca hit it off already in the comments.
Excellent. All right, thanks, Becca. You can certainly always get in touch with us through the website as well.
Excellent. Any events for the holidays going on?
So we're nerds at Alma. So normal schools, maybe they'll do some kind of holiday concert. We do something called Expedition Night, so our kids show off their high quality work. So we'll be at Keith Middle School in a couple of weeks. We pack the house. Our families love it because they get to see their scholars just really get into depth about the things they've been learning for the past few months.
Excellent. Ran over again. Josh's going to kill me. That's 5 minutes.
Sorry,
I
Josh.
owe him. He's got a life, and we got to make sure he tends to it. Everybody, thank you so much. I hope we taught you as much. We kind of crammed 10 pounds of dirt in a 5-pound bucket here, and I said that as nicely as possible. I want you guys to know that I'm going to continue to try to bring you as much as possible in terms of knowledge and what's going on, and get you up to speed on what's happening in the city and the topics that are important: education, taxes, cannabis. And I want to make sure that we're here for you. So reach out to me, Chris@NewBedfordGuide.com. If there's a topic that you really want to learn more about, whether it's politics, whether it's organizations in the area, charter schools, and whether you actually want me to put Vera back on the hook and ask her what she hates about Alma Del Mar. And please don't forget, toy drives everywhere, and I get it. It's that time of year. You can't walk outside without getting hit up for something. It's that time of year. Pass it forward. Save for 6 months. Pay your credit cards off at that point. But there's a lot of people that are less fortunate. And honestly, quite frankly, this is the best time of year for me. I truly enjoy it. I am probably the busiest I've ever been in my life, but I'm still making time to go to these toy drives, coat drives, and all that stuff because it's really important to me. God's blessed me with a really, really great life, good, healthy family, and there's tons that are less fortunate. So if you find it in your heart and you can just, even if it's a $5 new toy or whatever, come by 12 to 3, Top Shelf Bar and Grill on Sunday, and I'll be there along with the girls from Handpicked group, the Sarah and Brandy. I combined your names and said Sandy. They're doing it for DCF, huge toy drive, a lot of fun, and some cool, and you can all congratulate Brandy. She was on and she was pregnant and she just had baby Gemma, healthy and ready to go. Thank you, everybody. Good night. God bless. See you next Thursday and possibly Tuesday. Josh and I are working on something funny. And next Thursday, Sheriff Thomas Hodgson, along with Ian Abreu. Ian's going to be talking about halfway houses and ordinances of that in the city. And also the sheriff is going to explain how he felt about having protesters sitting in his front lawn last week. Thank you, everybody. God bless. And hopefully you learned, and make sure, be kind. Happy holidays.